I read this book a couple years back called The Terror by Dan Simmons, and the reason why I picked it up in the first place was because this cover just looked so intriguing to me. It was next to whatever the latest Hunger Games book was on the shelf, and all these other big, ostentatious, in-your-face covers with big fonts and flashy graphics. And then you have this almost serene, peaceful, very odd-looking, almost Norman Rockwell-ish painting of this frozen wasteland, all these beautiful colors. And then you just got a couple of bodies lying in the snow. Very strange. And so younger me, picked up the book and said, I'll give it the old test run, the old spin, flip it open to the prologue and see if they can hook me. And lordy, it hooked me within the first 2 or 3 paragraphs. The prologue of this book just sets it up so perfectly. You have men standing watch on the deck of the ship that's locked in ice. And you don't know anything else except these men are cold, they're hungry, they're trying to stay in good humor. But these are men that don't know what's going to happen next. And they come across some things that could be spooky, could be supernatural, could be just a very scary looking bear. And the whole crux of the mystery is laid out for you right there in the prologue. I loved it. It hooked me. And then 2 hours later, I'm sitting in Arby's just reading it while my roast beef sandwich gets cold next to me because I'm so enraptured with the story, the prose, the description. The guy's writing, Dan Simmons, he went on to write this other historical fiction novel about the end of Charles Dickens' life when he meets a mysterious character named Drood. And I was like, this guy is so great at capturing the mood and the period. But really, The Terror was where I discovered his writing and I fell in love with it. You have men at all levels of command, from the lowly sailor just doing his job on the ship, going on this expedition to get paid, go back home to England, all the way up to the sub-commanders, the lieutenants, and all the way up the chain of command to the top. The captains of the ships and what their weaknesses and faults and all of their pride and ego. I thought it was such a great story from beginning to end. It really, really hooked me. If you can read the book first, I would suggest doing that and then diving into the show on AMC. AMC, with executive producer Ridley Scott, look at these shots and look at this set and what they were able to do. I thought it was just brilliant. It was the only miniseries that I felt truly captured the source material. I watched it from beginning to end, every episode. So much happens in every episode. A lot of shows try to pad their runtime, but you see every episode the slow degradation of these men as a very strict, disciplined, adventuring, exploratory, I guess, what would you call it? Expedition, right? Military men that are taking these ships to find this passage. And with every episode, they get more and more desperate as more and more terrible things happen to them that just decrease their chance of survival. And the best thing about it is maybe every episode, just about every episode, you see the window where somebody could have made a choice and turned the whole thing around. And it just doesn't happen. And the men get worse and worse off. And I loved it, all from the beginning to the end. And believe me, by the end, you are just sitting there like white-knuckled, just waiting for what terrible, horrible thing is going to happen next. I don't suggest watching it if you're depressed or if you are just not having a good time. But the Lady Boss and I really loved this show. The performances were so powerful. The writing was terrific. And the tension that they ratcheted up. Ridley Scott, whoever he got to do the directing and the cinematography, the sound design, every single episode as these men deal with the things that are assaulting them from outside their ships to within their ranks to just trying to survive and having to slowly shed the veneer of gentility and civilization as this terrible environment just continually tries to kill them. I loved it. It was great. And this show I think should be on everybody's watch list at some point. It's just a masterpiece. Really well done. Highly recommend it. The Terror, Season 1. Season 2, total garbage fire. Has no connection whatsoever to the first season. I think it was a blatant cash grab, which is terrible because I'm half Japanese, and the plight of the Japanese Americans during World War II, the racism and the prejudice they had to deal with was really, really bad. I just don't think they should have made a season of The Terror focusing on the themes of racial prejudice in World War II. That could have been its own project. It could have been its own thing where they take Japanese folklore and ghost stories and stuff. But the thing that made The Terror so captivating was you actually have the last letters written by the people on this expedition that they left in dead drops that say we're being... you know what? I'm not going to spoil any more of it. But there's a mystery in Season 1. And you feel for every single man on this expedition. You want them all to survive. And as the time passes in every episode, they get worse and worse off. You realize, holy moly, this could be pretty bad. Unless you're a big spooky bear creature. Then it's good eating. All right, that's it. Get the book. Oh, also, don't do any reading on the expedition. This was like way before the internet was so easily accessible. You know, I don't think there was even a Wikipedia when I first read this book, and I had no idea how it would end. And I'm glad I didn't, because right now I could just Google what happened to the Terror expedition and everything would get ruined. So don't research it. Go in with a clean, blank mind and just live in the cold with these poor, poor men for 10 episodes. You're not going to regret it, believe me. If you would like to see a 10-hour-long horror movie, this is the movie to watch. And I think it was just so perfect to take place right before all of this nonsense happened in the world, because with the shutdown and the lockdown after that, I really did feel like some of the men on that expedition like going totally stir crazy. And man, the things that they went up against back in the old days. All right, everybody, hope you enjoyed this little ramble. Check out the book, read the book. Then if you haven't seen the show, definitely check it out. Only Season 1, Season 2. Blech.
What up, players? Gandalf the Grey, up in this month. Support Warboss Tay Studios. For now, more than ever, Hobbiton is in desperate need of heroes. Heroes like Daniel Sprinkle, Scrag Fist, Brad 94H, Pigs, Dicey Guy, Harris Smith, Play It Painted, and Logan Swanson.